Hey everybody, I covered these books the other day and I was trying to edit some of it and I deleted the majority of it and I only had 5 minutes left and I'm just, what am I going to learn? What am I going to learn? I tried this last year, failed miserably, so I just go with it, So, well, I'm going to start all over again with Fantastic Four, John Buscema cover and interiors. That's a really weird arm. I know at this point he was encouraged to basically draw like Kirby, bang out like 3 books a month. And I don't mean they were always still good, and because when he started at Marvel, he did this Baroque, very like Bern Hogarth kind of sinewy superheroes and voluptuous gals, and just everything just had this real, and Silver Surfer he did it as well. And then, Stan kind of broke his heart by saying, hey, we need you to produce more pencils. We'll get some inkers on you. But he made the best of it. And he made a good living at it, thankfully. I mean, I don't know how much, just he was able to live with whatever they paid him. And you get paid a page rate, so that was another incentive to do more books. But a last-minute book by John Buscema is probably better than most books that had a full month to draw. So he's just that gifted. I ran across this in the wild. I hadn't collected comics as far back as '73. Usually, I would find this when, say, like my parents go to go to hang out at another grown-up people's house, like another man and a woman. There's no kid, or if the kid's old enough, he gets rid of his comics. So while I'm bored off my ass, I find this, and I must have reread it a dozen times that night. Okay, maybe, I don't know. So what's interesting is the time frame is Medusa is replacing the Invisible Girl / woman because there was a she and Reed got separated, is what happened, so, and this was in the era where divorce was really starting to, the rate of divorce was growing up substantially in the news, so I guess this was being topical. So, just look at that layout. Look at Johnny, and he's not wearing his blue and whites. He is wearing colors of the original Human Torch. What happened was Sue left, so they decided to shake things up, and it's too hard to explain how their costumes got changed. The thing stayed the same. However, check out the rocks on him. The rocks are smaller than we've seen him in many times. It was just like a temporary thing. There's Wyatt Wingfoot, long-time Native American pal and former roommate of Johnny Storm, a.k.a. the Torch. And, Medusa's costume's great. She has like a number 4 on her belt buckle, but this costume really puts me in the mind of the Black Cat by Lee Elias in the 50s, I think. In Human Torch, he's drawn differently. Up until this point, he was drawn with a bunch of lines where his face and his muscles should be, but Roy wanted to try and make him look more like the Golden Age Human Torch. I mean, he was just trying everything. So Johnny does the old thermal updraft bit, which... it's so stupid. Even when I was a child, I didn't believe it. It's like, okay, I'm going to basically boil the air. And it's like, how their blood is not being boiled, I don't know. And then he creates a surface. It's, you kind of go with it because it's comics. That's a great image, everybody just dropping. And here comes Miracle Man. What's amazing about this is he only appeared in issue number 3 of Fantastic Four when they were still trying to figure out what they're going to do. He was an illusionist, and now he has superpowers. And this is, 136 issues later. Wow. It's amazing. And there is your Kirby fashioned buildings, or, really cool stuff. Well, lots of stuff. He gets to clobbering. And Medusa, she kicks some ass too. I love that spin in the air. That is really cool. She's just tossing these yobs around. More stuff. I'm trying to, let's see. So he goes to blind Miracle Man as he did in issue 3, and he says, but without my vision, I can't conjure miracles. I'm helpless. And here comes the Thing. What I loved about it may have seemed repetitious, but the Thing would always be like the cavalry. And, there's Medusa, and she's ready to take on this batch of, I don't know what you call them, minions. Not the little yellow guys that look like pills. And there's the showdown. And not a chance, Buster. There's something you just don't understand. Some guys have class and some guys don't. A guy with class would have blinked us out of existence with the kind of power you got. But you're definitely second rate. All you care about is proving how tough you are. And mister, if you got to prove it, you ain't. So he's blocking all the battles. These things, for a couple of years, Marvel had these weird promos at the bottom of their pages. And I always thought it kind of cool. And when I did my own comics, I did comics when I was about 7 years old. I was very... Unfortunately, I threw them away a long time ago like a moron. But I even did that at the bottom. I was trying so hard. And I loved doing the box lettering or the... I could pick up on it pretty quick. Now, this is a very Marvel panel. It's something Kirby essentially invented, I would say. That kind of energy. And John Buscema picked up on it. And Sal Buscema did as well. And then years later, people like Keith Pollard, in my mind, he was right up there, along with George Perez. They both picked up on that. And it's sensational. I mean, it's really a grabber. Makes you root for the good guys. And these are spirits, Native American spirits. And look at the inks by Joe Sinnott. It's like pulling off the first panel, not easy. So, good stuff, Fantastic Four. I'm actually going a little slower on this one because I've been told, maybe do the 20-minute videos after all. Dial H for Hero. Really cool. It was a brief series or backup series in DC in the mid-'60s with a guy named Robbie something or other. This time he has a friend who is a girl, but not necessarily girlfriend, boyfriend, drawn by, Carmen Infantino, in his later period that, in my mind, it was really dependent on the anchor to really send it home. And we back to Flash. That was pretty cool because he already established that language, I guess the best way to put it. The Jinx. The Jinx was created by Larry King, age 19, Morrisville, Vermont. Seattle, you're on the air. You're on Larry King Live. So, now here's an interesting thing I thought about is, my thing is I'm not only a comic book artist, I'm also a businessman in a sense. Like, you have to really think in terms of legalese if you don't want to get screwed. And somehow I managed to prevent that from happening because of the character Cancero. Unusual, odd word. But, anyway, what I'm saying is when they mentioned who created that, and this was in recent, 40 years, I was wondering if, if these guys ever wanted to, do these characters. Is there a, does DC let it go if it's too goofy like that? I don't know. What's great is Don Simpson of Megaton Man did a recent book called X Amount of Heroes, and he had a Cyclopster. It was a Cyclops lobster. It's such a great name. And we get these guys here. I'm Oxide with the ability to rust things, and I become the harp. I harp on you all the time. More fun. I kind of like that. Well, the coin slot mouth is kind of funny. It's like, oh, this is my favorite one. Jelly Woman, created by Lincoln Wirt, age 12, address unknown. And this other guy becomes Ragnarok. And he's basically Thor. And he looks like the character Red Rider was a guy, not the singer or performer, but Red Rider was a guy who was in an issue of Thor when Roy Thomas was writing it, and he managed to become the original image of what people knew Thor was to be. I'm not saying that right, but look it up. Because I'll take another 20 minutes trying to explain that. So, Captain Saturn and Snowfall. Really fun stuff. I love it a lot. Oh, and then we get some Trevor Von Eden stuff here. It's very different. It's almost kind of like when I showed the Vengeance Squad comics. So, good stuff, good stuff. A lot of fun. Okay, now we got Dakota North, and this is a book that really got lost in the shuffle. It came out Marvel's 25th anniversary. You had like 12 new titles, 10 or 12 new titles for the new universe, which really didn't take off. But it was they committed to it for about I think a year and a half or something like that, and it just didn't sell. And then Marvel also added more titles, added more spin-offs of the more popular characters, and more X-Men titles coming out and related miniseries. So this didn't really have a chance. It was a 6-issue series. I think it was 6 issues. It just ended with issues. And but it's really, I think it'd be kind of cool to do it now. It is written by Martha Thomases, who I'm not familiar with, but she does a good story. Tony Salmons or Salmons or whoever. He's someone I didn't like at first because it's so different, and not only that, but it's like working for Marvel. That is so off the model. Only a favored few people like Bill Sienkiewicz and other could stray away from like the 9 grid, and Frank Miller as well. But pretty neat stuff. He has such an odd feel, but it's also very organic. It's like sometimes you could say more on a face with less lines. Less cross-hatching. There's a lot of yada yada, but the story is really worth it. There you go. The new shitty universe. And, actually, I just love that kind of stuff. Really, really smart stuff. And like I said, if it had come out maybe, I don't know, earlier or, in the 1990s early, or probably in the 2000s. She's appeared since in various books. I don't quite know, but she's still doing her thing. Now we're going to Iron Man from Iron City. This book I will forever remember as my previous copy having a big, wet, soggy spot around the barcode. And what happened is my cousin and I went to Etna to buy some comics from Ides back when it was the only game in town. It's one of the oldest comic shops in the country, and they've been around since '72, and really cool. So this has just come out. Great cover by Kirby, probably laid out by, I don't know, Marie or something like that. So Mysterious Milk. No, they brought back that question mark that they used to have in the old days. Did we say no one? Because like on the early Marvels, you could see that. And so let's get into it. We got George Tuska and Jack Abel who embellishing, and I love the combination. I really do. Jack Abel inked under the pseudonym Adam Austin in an old Tales of Suspense back when Gene Colan was using a pseudonym that I can't remember what it was, or maybe never mind, not important. You can always look it up. Gary Conway came on to be editor-in-chief for a few months, and he was back then. Writer and editors were a big thing because he didn't have to answer anybody. He just finish it and make sure everything's proofread, give it to the proofreader. So it's kind of like it's like just do your own book, put it out. And some writers were better at it than others. But yeah, Abel's stuff is just so... He still had that great style. Over Tuska especially. This is when he had that stupid thing where he had like these 2 wristbands. Well, they're not even there anymore. Where he puts his arms up and, his armor becomes clothes through unstable molecules or whatever. But it didn't last long, and thank God. It was really dumb. And this one character, Chrissy Longfellow, who comes along, she's actually Madame Mask, who has a disfigured face, and she wears this big, like a riveted iron mask over it. But she's disguised as a regular woman, and I'm like, okay, well, you must know a lot about covering up scars, and it's like the hair is completely different. It's really wacky. I mean, it was comic books back then. I mean, back when there was an old issue of Thor and Tales of Asgard where he wore a brown wig and fooled the other guy's troops to surrender. It was just really weird. I'm not articulating well because I'm not talking about that comic book right now. And here comes the Melter, and he got rid of his gun, and he's gone back to the early version where he has the melting thing on his chest. So he got in the first shot. That's fine, and he kind of keeps on Iron Man for a while there. So in all honesty, usually he gets he usually gets caught or nailed. Never mind. It's hard to explain. Usually, they would still make him this easy to lose because back then, Iron Man was always clutching his heart. He was always, as powerful as he would become in the days of David Michelini and Bob Layton. That's a great parting shot. Like, I'll shoot your ass just to spite you. So he lands. And then here's a subplot. Michael O'Brien, who's just totally over the top insane. His brother, Kevin O'Brien, was the guardsman who wore this Iron Man type armor during, like 1972 or so. And he died while fighting Iron Man, but it wasn't because of Iron Man. It was something or other. But Michael O'Brien, his brother, is just nuts. It's like this was in one page every issue, so it's like between 82 and 103 or something like that. So you had to suffer through a page of this jag off. Good old Tuska teeth there for the bad guys. Big old tusks. Okay, here we go. Thump, thump, thump. Crash. The original Iron Man. Okay, now if you've been reading comics as long as I have, you've seen this before. This is a complete copy of Tales of Suspense, 91, 89, something, where Gene Colan and Stan Lee did the same exact bit. And between this issue and issue 100, Bill did the greatest hits. He brought back Ultimo, he brought back the Guardsman, he brought back the Mandarin, and all kinds of stuff like that. So it's so funny. So he blasts the arm off, and he keeps walking. Good Lord, you're still walking? Yeah, I don't. It's not that I'm bleeding or anything. It's just a bunch of wires. So it's like, no one can survive that blast. It's like, no one can. It's like the Melter is the last person to realize it was just a crummy robot. It's like the little kids who are reading it do that, It's like, But he gets taken up. Iron Man. So Kraken kills. God, don't get me started on Kraken. Shittiest villain ever. All he had was a peg leg that made him fly up in the air, and somehow he managed to stay stable without having two boot jets. And he was kind of like Ian Anderson from Jethro Tull, but with a motor on it. And he also had this electric sword. And Iron Man could have taken him out so easy, but he was fighting a lot of crappy villains for a while. Magneto, guess what? I got into X-Men before new X-Men came along. It was a reprint title when I started buying it, and so it was new to me. I saw it said originally presented, etc., etc. But it didn't bother me because I liked these characters. As far as I knew, they never came back. I mean, never those. I didn't know about Hank McCoy becoming the Beast with fur and everything, and I didn't know about their extra guest shots that Steve Englehart would pepper some of his books with. So as far as I was concerned, they were all gone and retired or whatever, because there was just no constant representation of them. So I just thought, oh wow, I'm reading an old comic back when they were still alive or something. So they're at a funeral and having a fuss. It was Professor Xavier's funeral, killed by Grotesque. And it wasn't true anyway. Okay, she's sobbing. I like the folds on there. She's sobbing, and the thing is, later on, Neil Adams and Roy Thomas and Denny O'Neil they brought back him and said that he had trusted Marvel Girl to keep quiet that he was hiding, and this guy named the Changeling, who was a bad guy, he had cancer, and he says, I want to go out a hero. So he took on the look of it, and then it's kind of like, don't read too much into this, just cover. It's so wacky. And there's the Toad, and so Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver left the Avengers because they got mad at some humans who were insulting them and, attacking them. So Magneto takes up this ship. Here come the new X-Men, and their costumes were only like maybe 3 issues old, I think, because they had the original blue and white uniforms, and that always looks like suspenders. That's the only one I didn't like. But the Marvel Girl costume's awesome. And I really like that. And I like the coloring too. I don't know if it's true the original. It's hard to say. So here comes a battering ram that literally has a ram on, which is so stupid, but it's fun. That's very awkward, But Red Raven, and that next issue is the last one I got before issue 98. I couldn't find him anywhere, and all of a sudden there was this. We were like 5 issues into this all new X-Men. I saw, oh yeah, it's like, who's this African woman? Who's this Russian guy? It's like, whoa, cool. And for the reason of space, they have to put a little Journey into Mystery, basic fantasy type short story in, because there were only 17 or 18 pages of book back then, which was, in other words, there's 2 pages of story, 2 pages of ads, etc., etc. It's a miracle I followed comics, because I guess the talent won out over the rip-off that you kind of got with the half the pages being ads. So, and this is a really good story. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but Ditko does nervous guys better than anybody on the planet, and I'm talking like even modern creators. Wow! So, good stuff. That's all, and hopefully I won't have to redo this again, but I don't think so. I think I did better this time. All right, everybody, and I apologize to the 169 people who watched the previous version. I don't make this habit very often. I did it like a year and a half ago on my other channel. So that's all. If you like this, please hit like, and please hit subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications. You'll get notified. And also, if you can, please share if you have a Bronze Age comics fan, please point them this way, and we'll have a good old time. And I hope they like it. And that's about it. So I don't do any advertising. I don't have a Patreon or anything. This is just out of pure love. And have a good day, everybody.